There's a private detective on the case now.
Well, you should get a private detective.
I'm a private detective.
I'm a private detective.
I'm a private detective.
It's a lonely, dangerous life being a private detective.
We hired a private detective to find you, and...
So, you're a genuine private detective.
The creation of the internet has irrevocably transformed the way in which human civilization functions. It has resulted in vast global connectivity, extensive access to public knowledge, and an abundance of commonalities that we now take for granted. However, even though some view the internet as a quagmire of social media and time wasting, it has shown to be beneficial in the field of criminal investigation. The internet may not appear to be the finest place for investigators and crime stoppers, but it has many people who may deduce information and assist the police in solving difficult crimes. When thousands of people with specialized abilities gather for a common aim, it is difficult for criminals to conceal themselves. There have been numerous instances in which the internet has helped to solve crimes, as clever amateur sleuths on sites like Reddit, Twitter, and others have collaborated with law enforcement and provided important information. This has not only put a halt into some heinous deeds, but it has also spawned some interesting tales. The following are fascinating instances in which modern technology has aided law enforcement in ways we never could have imagined. Number 1. The Dead Lottery Winner. Winning the lotto can completely transform a person's life for the better. However, it may also place a target on your back. Abraham Shakespeare believed he would be living the good life after winning $17 million on a scratch-off ticket, but he was found dead and buried in the backyard of a mansion acquired by his financial advisor, Doris Dede Moore. Although police suspected Moore, there was little proof to support their suspicions, but everything changed when internet detectives entered the fray. After social media users began posting about the crime, Moore attempted to divert suspicion by producing anonymous social media posts to defend herself. She later admitted to the murder. Moore lacked knowledge of IP logging, which resulted in members exposing her IP data to police, providing them with all the information they required. Moore's story was astonishingly unreliable since it varied wildly, and her guilt was evident. She is currently facing a life term in prison, demonstrating that if you want to use the internet to bury your crime, you should be aware of what you're doing beforehand. Number 2. The Tent Girl. Barbara Bobby Ann Hackman Taylor's remains were discovered near Georgetown, Kentucky on May 17, 1968, wrapped in a canvas tarp. Authorities were unable to identify her at the time, so they gave her the nickname Tent Girl. In an effort to identify Tent Girl 30 years later, a man named Todd Matthews, who had been intrigued by the case, investigated the case and developed a website dedicated to her. Matthews discovered a listing on a website for missing persons that resembled what he knew about Tent Girl. Taylor's sister, who posted it, was contacted. Taylor was positively identified once the remains of the Tent Girl were exhumed and examined. George Earl Taylor, her spouse at the time of her murder, is believed by the police to be the murderer. He died of cancer 11 years before Taylor's identification. Matthews went on to establish the Doe Network, an organization that matches unidentified remains with missing persons. Number 3. Head in a Bucket. In 2001, a trucker discovered the concrete-encased remains of a human head in a bucket at a truck stop north of Kansas City, Missouri. While authorities in Missouri attempted to identify the head in the bucket for 5 years, another squad in Bellevue, Iowa, investigated the disappearance of Gregory May, a 55-year-old tattoo artist and collector of Civil War artifacts. Julie Miller, a friend of May's, eventually admitted that she and her boyfriend, Doug DeBruin, murdered May and disposed of his body jointly. DeBruin was charged with murder in 2004, but the trial would be Iowa's first without a body, and prosecutors lacked confidence. Frank Bender, a renowned forensic sculptor who sculpted lifelike sculptures based on the skulls of unidentified human remains, was enlisted by Missouri authorities to rebuild the face of the head in the bucket. They posted the bust on the Doe network discussion boards, and seasoned web detective Ellen Leach set out to discover a match, which she accomplished. Days before De Bruyn's trial was to begin, DNA tests showed that the head in the bucket belonged to Gregory May. Doug De Bruyn was convicted and sentenced to life in prison as a result of the trial's use of credible physical evidence made possible by the identification. A perfect example of the adage, two heads are better than one. In the case of internet sleuths, there are often hundreds of eyes focused on a singular problem. Number 4. Caught in the Crossfire. In the Netflix documentary, Why Did You Kill Me?, Crystal Theobald's story is brought to life as a nightmare account of being caught in the crossfire of gang conflict. However, it is also the story of the extremes to which a family will go in pursuit of justice. Theobald, a 24-year-old woman, was shot in the head and killed by a group that mistakenly believed the car she was in belonged to a rival gang and attacked it as a result. Her boyfriend and younger brother were also in the vehicle, but thankfully they were able to escape unharmed. Belinda Lane, the mother of Theobald, naturally desired to see those responsible for her daughter's death behind bars. Lane would go on to make a phony MySpace account in order to seek down the murderers and coerce them into admitting their involvement. Multiple suspects were convicted as a result of this highly successful strategy. Belinda Lane continues to manage a Facebook page about unsolved homicides, where she assists others in their pursuit of justice. She exemplifies how anonymity on the internet may be used for good rather than evil. Number 5. Don't mess with cat. If you have a Netflix subscription, you will most likely recall this case quite clearly. Jun Lin was a Chinese student living in Canada. When he was last seen, he was a student at Concordia University in Montreal, where he was pursuing a degree in computer science. On May 29, 2012, Jun Lin was reported missing after his friends had not heard from him and he did not show up for his part-time work at a convenience shop. He had not been seen or heard from in over a week. A video depicting a horrible murder was uploaded to a website dedicated to graphic violence a few days before. Police reports were filed by multiple users of the website, but little action was taken by the local police. Things began to be taken more seriously, however, when human body parts were sent to the Conservative and Liberal parties in Canada, and a torso was discovered outside of an apartment building in Montreal. Luc Magnotta was ultimately determined to be the person responsible for the murders. In the meantime, DNA evidence established beyond a reasonable doubt that the body pieces discovered outside the apartment building in which Magnotta resided belonged to Jun Lin. After some time had passed, Jun Lin was recognized as being the victim in the video. Magnotta had been on the police's radar for several months before Jun Lin's murder due to the fact that he had committed more horrific crimes and uploaded evidence of them online. Since 2010, internet sleuths have been attempting to locate Magnotta after videos of him killing and torturing kittens surfaced on Facebook. An animal rights activist group calling themselves the Animal Beta Project viewed the recordings in search of identifying clues. Some of the things they examined included the perpetrator's bedspread and furniture. Early in 2011, the organization established that Magnotta was the individual depicted in the films and located him in the city of Toronto, using clues they matched from pictures he had posted to images from Google Earth and Google Street View. The case was ultimately solved by DNA evidence linking Magnotta to Jun Lin. Social media sleuths and amateur detectives played a huge role in bringing Magnotta to the attention of the authorities. With the modern existence of mass surveillance, cell phone tracking, satellite imagery, and the digital footprint left by everyone in their daily routines, law enforcement has more tools than ever to pursue criminals. In cases where the police need a helping hand, criminals beware. There is a dedicated army of thousands of highly skilled internet detectives ready to pick up the case and pursue justice. If you enjoyed this episode of Can't Be True, give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. If you have any amazing but true stories you'd like to hear about, please let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.